Okay, then let's talk about these murderdrones. These drones what commit unaliving. Let's talk about them. Yeah, let's talk about murder drones because I was not really aware of Glitch until the Amazing Digital Circus started blowing up, because that's the point when I started seeing. Well, let's be real. I started seeing fan art of Pomni going around. I started seeing like the artwork and the screenshots and like the memes about it. Is like, oh, what the hell is this? And then I became aware of the Amazing Digital Circus, right? Like, I didn't really know that it was made by Glitch, but that was sort of like, okay, that there's an animated show out there. I didn't really have any like desire to watch it particularly yet because I didn't really know what it was. And just as a series of screenshots, the early episodes of Amazing Digital Circus weren't really like, they didn't make me go, whoa, I need to see what this is, because, you know, they are what they are, right? It wasn't until Gaslight District. When Gaslight District hit, every animator I follow online, every single goddamn one of them was like, what the fuck is this? This is the best thing I've ever seen. Holy fucking shit, right? Every single one of them. And at that point, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Oh, that's the same people who what do the Amazing Circus of the Digital thing. Is like, oh, okay. That's the point when my interest was sort of kindled. That like, oh, this is maybe something I should be taking a look at. Right? Maybe that's something there that's worth paying attention to. A show I had not heard about until I expressed some. Well, I think people had requested that I react to Murder Drones a couple of times, but I didn't know what it was. Right? I had no relationship to what the thing is, and I was like, I don't know. I've never heard of that, so I didn't really have any particular interest in it. Now that I've seen Gaslight District, the first episode, now that I've seen Digital Circus and the sheer level of craft that sort of is developing at Glitch Studios, now I am curious to see some of the older work that Glitch has done and sort of explore a little bit about where they came from. Hi, Artemis. Hi, baby. No, that's the keyboard. That's not for sleeping. That's not a bed. Baby doll. Hi. Yes. Yeah, go there. Put your claws in my shoulder and sit there. That's fine. That's fine. Like I had no relation to Murder Drones, but having watched their popular big shows now, I started getting curious about where the hell Glitch came from, right? Like, because from my perspective, they sort of showed up out of nowhere with Digital Circus, and I'd never heard about them beforehand. And seeing the level of quality in Digital Circus, I was like, okay, these people must have a history, right? Like, that shit doesn't just crop up out of nowhere. They must have a history of some kind. Murder Drones is part of that history. But going back, I also discovered that, like, they have had a few series before, like 3 seasons of a show called Meta Runners. They had, like, a couple of pilots for some other things, which is interesting. And I do kind of want to go back and do a video or two, maybe not full episode reactions, to some of the older stuff that Glitch has done. Because as far as I can tell, they started in large part with money from, like, the Australian government, like from like foundations and grants and things like that, as a sort of semi-national project of Australia, among other things, and got funding from a number of different places. Like, they made Meta Runners was an original series made with Crunchyroll, right? Way back in yon olden days. And that's interesting as a place to start, because that's sort of the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but that's a very different thing from other sort of YouTube animation sensations like Spindle Horse, which was like Viv Medrano, animation student, like, who managed to drum up a lot of sort of like fan passion and interest, and someone like Alan Becker, for example, or The Odd Ones Out, or Jaden Animation, like these YouTube animation outfits specifically, which sort of start with a person in their bedroom and then grow organically from there. Like, Glitch seems to have had a somewhat different trajectory, and that's interesting. Anyway, all of this to say is that I have developed an interest in Glitch's history a little bit, and a bunch of people do seem to regard Murder Drones quite highly. So let's take a look at it. As ever, I'm not going to do the whole series if the show doesn't interest me, right? Like, if I watch the first episode and the animation just isn't really interesting to me, or I'm not really jiving with what the narrative is trying to do, then we'll do the first episode. I probably won't follow up with the rest of them. I don't want to do it just to do it, but I am curious to see, like, how much, because I watched a little clips and bits of Glitch's earliest work, right? Like Meta Runners, for example. And in there, like, that's a very, very different style of animation that they're using there. That's something that's like much closer to like Ruby out of Rooster Teeth to a large extent. It's something that seems to be much more informed by motion capture, for example. Whereas one of the things I like about the Digital Circus and like Gaslight District is that it is such handcrafted animation, right? And so looking back and seeing like, oh, there's a lot more influence here that seems to be things like mocap, rotoscoping, like things that sort of rely on maybe animation libraries. And I'm curious about that. So maybe a little trip down history lane with Glitch would be an interesting thing. But for now, let me double check my audio settings that I am recording this correctly, and that the thing is gonna do what I want it to do. Let's see what Murderdrones is about. Oh, yeah, that's a way to start. Okay, sweet. Like, okay, fair enough. Like, you know what you're about. You've said, yeah, we're just gonna do some exposition right now. That's fair. That's fair. Exposition is hard, I will say, in any show. Exposition is hard, right? Like, especially if it's a high concept show, especially if you're doing some sci-fi fantasy bullshit. It's like, so either you have to sort of do the organic thing of like, oh, we take the person into the world in medias res, and then we have some excuse to have people explain to the main character what's actually happening. Like, our main characters fish out of water, or they come from it. Like, that's one of the reasons why isekai is such a popular genre, is because it's really easy to do exposition in that genre, because you will always have a character who can justify like being ignorant about something or needing explanations or wanting to give explanations. Like, that's part of the power of the isekai genre. So just like opening with like, yeah, no, listen, you're gonna have to sit through some exposition right now. We need to tell you to get you up to speed with what the fuck's going on, and then we'll get into the story. I kind of respect that.
We are worker drones, autonomous robots helping humans mine exoplanets for our interstellar parent company, JC Jensen, in space. Yeah, we were mistreated in the name of Windex, but it's not.
Windex? Isn't that the brand name for like a brand of like window cleaning stuff?
Not like we revolted and killed all humans or anything. Mostly because they handled that just fine all by themselves. With
Wow, this sequel to Astro's Playroom is a lot darker than the first game.
biological life wiped from the planet, we found it pretty easy to pick up where they left off. We finally had a future.
Yeah, all right, sure. So, one of the immediate questions I always ask about, like, when a narrative is introduced, right, is what's the sardonic irony to sincerity ratio, right? Like, what is the jokey joke to the narrative ratio, right? That's one of the things with Hell of a Boss. That's one of the lines that show sometimes struggles to walk. Same thing that maybe a little bit with Has Been Hotel is like, how much of what we are saying and how much we're putting on screen are you meant to take earnestly as an expression of the interiority of this world, and how much of it is a jokey joke, right? So imagery like this, right, which is we're doing essentially sort of 1950s family with like a father with the pipe and like the suit and the thing, and then the mom with the baby, and it's like, oh, we finally had a future. It's this sort of very sort of corporate 1950s idyllic. Is that just a joke? Or are we at this point implying that the robots are picking up like fairly regressive, reactionary images of what a society should be and organizing them around those strata in the same way that the humans do? Not clear. And again, the show doesn't need to make that clear to me in the first like 1.3 seconds of the show. But it's one of the questions I immediately ask myself is like, okay, am I meant to take this seriously, or is this meant to be a Family Guy cutaway gag, right?
Sure. All to ourselves. Unfortunately, our parent company didn't exactly love the concept of runaway AI.
Right. It's a Grim Reaper. It's an avenging angel. I see. One thing I'm curious about. My assumption right now is that the extremely bit crunched, sort of low bit rate scan line imagery that they're doing here, that would be like an overlay to indicate this is memory, this is exposition, this is not stuff that's happening directly. Like, this is a videotape that's being played back to sort of get you into what the world is. Again, there's that question of like how much of this is meant to be earnest world building and how much of this is meant to be just aesthetic gestures. Is this meant to imply that in this world of fully autonomous humanoid robots, like mining exoplanets, we still, like, our video technology still looks like this because all the cameras are still shit and they all have scan lines on them for some reason? Scan lines don't exist on digital cameras. Like, there's no reason to have them because scan lines are for the electron scanning beam of a CRT, which is like, so scan lines are a very sort of reliquary thing. And I'm curious about that. I guess we'll find out. For now, though, I mean, if this is the character design sensibility of the show, we're going to have some fun with that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit, like there's definitely in here, you see echoes, like the comparison to Ruby, I guess, wasn't completely out of left field, because there's something similar in there, which is, these are anime-ass designs, right? Like, these are anime-ass character designs. Like, I haven't even seen them up close yet, but that's the aesthetic source that these things are pulling from, right? It looks like some Hatsune Miku half Twin Tails going on over here. These are anime-ass character designs, but they're anime-ass character designs being deployed against a general aesthetic which is, to a large extent, seems much more inspired and informed by, like, sort of a Western cartoony conception of sci-fi. And that's sort of an interesting mixture. I guess we'll see how that pans out. Calculating most probable deity to pray to. Haha, funny. Robot genocide. Oh no, the nuclear family is being destroyed by, like, the violent abuse of corporate overlords from a far distant colonizing power. Huh. Those then would be the titular murder drones, one imagines. And is that a Tower of Babel right in the middle of it all?
But what have our parents done for the past forever while those things build a spire of corpses? Hide under the ice behind 3 stupid doors? It's like we're waiting for an inciting incident.
Okay, so we are self-aware. I mean, certainly that's very much the communication of, like, loading exposition. It's like, okay, we are self-aware and we're not taking this too seriously, which again is that thing of, like, what's the ratio of sincerely meant semiotics that are meant to be analyzed, that are meant to be internalized, and that are meant to be understood as emotional storytelling versus what's a joke. This is setting the tone pretty strongly that, okay, this is post-ironic, sort of YouTube-brained, maybe someone who's read a few too many TV tropes pages, maybe someone who's watched a little bit too much OSP. It's that vibe, right? And I don't say that necessarily as derogatory, just as a, like, that's a vibe, right? Like, that's a style of storytelling. So call to action, unlikely aid, threshold, angst, teen overload, challengers and temptations, protagonist journey, revelation, death, rebirth, angsty overload, return. Now the thing that I would be looking for, if I end up doing the whole show, which, you know, that's possible. Now the thing I will be looking for is, like, okay, Are you doing this just because, haha, it's the hero's journey, it's the Campbell thing, it's that structure that all narrative conforms to. We're doing that as a joke, and we're not going to do it? Or am I going to be able to look back on the show and say, oh, hey, they actually did do a straight up protagonist, like a straight up hero's journey in the vein of Campbell, with like these clearly identifiable 3 or 5 act structure, depending on how you want to do it, to sort of arrive at like a sort of cyclical place, like journey to the underworld, and then a return with like a changed. That's interesting.
Anyway, that's why my project is this sick as hell railgun.
So not the vibe.
Easy, morons. It doesn't work. Yet. It doesn't work yet. Who said it doesn't work? Maybe it does.
Uzi, the homework was a word problem about buying watermelons.
Oh, and this magnetically amplified photon converger doesn't count?
No. Plus, repressed emotional baggage was only worth 2 points on the rubric. And is it supposed to be that color?
Oh yeah, very much in the vein of the sort of post-ironic, self-aware. And that's not a bad thing. You can do a lot of interesting, good things with that. But it's a vibe. It's not a vibe that I always vibe with. It's not always my kind of thing. It's a little... At its worst, this style of storytelling can get kind of juvenile. At its worst, and I don't know if that's what this is yet, at its worst, it can get kind of... It's a little bit crispened potato snacks, you know? It's a little bit this thing of like, well, I am conscious and I am aware of the way that stories are structured, and I know all of the tropes, and therefore I am going to hang lampshades on them to justify using them, or I'm going to subvert them because I am so edgy and I am better than the material that I'm working with. And that, like, and it's a thin line to walk. It's a very personal thing. When I get the sense that a writer or a series of creators feel like they are better than the material that they're working with, right? Like that they are rolling their eyes or sneering at the genre that they're working within, I tend to disengage from that. It's just not my kind of style. So I'm curious about like, and again, you can start from a point of like ironic, sort of like, I am better than this, rolling my eyes, I'm not going to engage. And then you can progress towards and earnest engagement. Like that's what happened with, like, here's another internet animation comparison to an extent. Team 4-Star with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, right? The first episodes of Dragon Ball Z Abridged are just rolling their eyes. It's just poking fun. It's just doing the Mystery Science Theater 3000 bit, where we're just making dumb jokes and like edgy nonsense and like just fucking around with this thing that we're doing. But then as like Dragon Ball Z Abridged goes on, it stops being just a parody. It stops being just teenagers throwing like tomatoes and rocks and rotten eggs at something for the fun of it, and it ends up becoming essentially an adaptation, right? Like it becomes an adaptation that cannot help but very earnestly engage with the characters that they have created, that cannot help but actually sort of like them and want to engage with them. So you can start from that point of post-ironic, sort of like, I am better than my material, and then you can progress into like something very earnest, which, given that this show clearly has a big fan base, given that a lot of people engage with it, I would expect that at some point it is going to show me an emotional heart. Because usually, like, unless you're South Park, you can usually only get so far with ironic detachment. Like, if you want to attract an audience. So there's definitely things about the cinematography here. Like, look at the camera, for example.
Things build a spire of corpses?
Boy, really informed by meme culture, but meme culture from like 10 years ago. So the camera here is acting as though it is handheld, right? So we have these sudden camera shifts and moves, this unsteadiness. You can see how, like, all of a sudden this thing just went off axis and did a little rotation so that the horizon line is like a little bit tilted. We're getting a bit of a Dutch angle here. It's mimicking the aesthetics of a handheld camera, I don't think it's doing a great job of doing it, though, because you can kind of tell the motion tweening. That it's not handheld, it's a mechanical emulation of handheld.
Doors? It's like we're waiting for an inciting incident. Anyway, that's why my project is this sick as hell rail.
Right, you can see that in the way that, like, when she's bringing out the railgun, the camera sort of pulls back and pushes forward and like, moves around. It's an interesting aesthetic. The point of a handheld camera shot in fiction is to put you inside of a point of view. Right, like that's what the handheld camera is. Like, that's when, like, you have the camera, they're running, and there's soldiers and explosions, like the camera is running, and that makes you feel like you're running alongside. So it puts you inside of the scene. It makes you identify as the viewer with, oh, I am present in this scene, and I'm whipping my head around trying to keep track of things. So a handheld camera, when it's not for documentary purposes, has a tendency to induce in the audience a feeling of, like, it can be used to make you feel present in the scene, but it is also something that can very quickly make you feel confused in the scene. It can very quickly make you feel confused about, like, what you're looking at, because you don't get that steady sort of omniscient point of view that you get from, like, a static camera, where, like, you have a establishing shot, you have, like, a medium shot, you have a close-up that sort of stays still and keeps you steady and allows you that sort of, I am the eye of God gazing upon, like, what is happening here. This is much more like you are meant to identify yourself with being present in the scene. And again, as when I start a show, one of the questions I ask is, like, are we making a meaningful cinematographical choice here? Why does the director have a reason why they want us to feel as though we are present in the scene here? Or is this just an aesthetic affectation, right? Like, in the same way that, like, the sort of, like, the scan lines and stuff are an aesthetic affectation. Is this just a thing that we're doing because we've seen it in other movies and we think it looks cool, or are we doing it because we wanted to have a specific narrative component with the characters? Again, that's something I'll say that the Digital Circus and Gaslight District were very, very conscious of and very good at. Like, are very good at being specific and choosing camera angles and choosing cinematography that informs and reinforces the emotional beats of the scenes that are happening.
A railgun!
So not the vibe.
Easy, moron.
Right? Because now that we're here, all of a sudden now the steady camera introduces itself. Now we get these more, like, consistent shots until, right, like, now we're in the point of view of one of her classmates looking at her. Then she points the gun, and then we get that wiggle again where the camera reacts to the action. So there's this, I do feel like there's an unclearness from the camera work so far about whether the camera is meant to be a participant in the scene, or whether these camera moves are just sort of like, oh, well, it's something that we can do that makes it dynamic because stuff is happening.
It doesn't work yet. Who said it doesn't work? Maybe it does.
Right, because here, there is a clear, like, directorial point to a change in camera style, right? Because here, Uzi, I think that was her name, is becoming unstable, right? Like, she's, like, hearing imaginary voices mocking her. It's upsetting her. And she sort of seems to be half talking to herself. And so we get, like, this dynamic camera motion, right? Like, when we push in on the gun as she, like, takes the safety off, presumably whatever the hell it's supposed to be. And, like, we get this tracking shot out to the point of the gun, and we're looking down on her, and she's cackling, and it's, like, it's all very, like, dramatic. And then we get this is a very artificial looking camera move. Like, this one feels a little bit not great. And then we cut to static, completely flat shot with no movement of the teacher being unaffected by her antics.
Uzi, the homework was a word problem about buying watermelons.
Oh, and this magnetically amplified photon converger doesn't count?
No. Plus, repressed emotional baggage was only worth 2 points on the rubric. And is it supposed to be that color?
Something interesting about the way they handle mouths here is they're doing the Sonic the Hedgehog thing, essentially, right? Which is to say that this part under the mouth, like this bit, this is treated basically as clay, right? Like this is basically, the mouth is not like a consistent component of how the character's head is constructed in these dialogue scenes. The mouth moves around in order to cheat to the camera, right? So here we get that angle, right? Which is like a 3/4, like a more turned 3/4 angle than the rest of the thing. But the implication of the teeth being here is that like the teeth are somewhere in like the right third of this guy's head and not like connected to his throat in any meaningful way, which is like, that's again, that's an aesthetic affectation. That's a stylization thing, right? Where we're moving the mouth around like very, very fluidly on the face indeed, in order to prioritize expressiveness over a physical consistency with like the internal anatomy of who the character is. Again, I would compare and contrast to the way that they handle similar mouths on the Digital Circus, where they definitely do the same thing sometimes. Like Ragatha does a similar style of lip sync, right? Like where her mouth can kind of amorphously move around on her head to suit whatever the camera wants a lot. But then you get characters like Gummy Goo, and like the Gators, like where they have to take very careful care of like the specific physical construction of their mouths, because they can't just spawn a mouth on the side of their heads. They have to open and close the jaws completely, right? Like it's a different approach. The downside of this is that like the mouth movement and animation here feels very floaty, right? Like as a part of the character's anatomy, this is kind of all over the place. Like I don't think this mouth shape makes sense for this head position for the character. Essentially, they're sort of treating the character's face like it's a flat 2D canvas, and they're just sort of drawing the mouth on. Like, this is a stylization that probably could work in 2D. In 3D, it has that Sonic problem, right? Like there are those screenshots of Sonic's mouth looking really weird, sort of hovering on the side of his face in like the 3D version of Sonic. And we kind of get the same problem here, right? Like where previously we've had this very 3/4 mouth, right? Like with the internal corner over here and the foreshortened corner over there. And then he doesn't turn his head very much. Like he's essentially looking straight on, and now it switches to the other side. Now the right corner of the mouth is foreshortened and the left corner is like rendered as though it's pointing towards the camera. It makes for some slightly awkward lip syncing, I think. It's the kind of thing that like maybe you don't care that much about if you're not like an animation pervert like I am. But for me, this is definitely something that takes me a little bit out of the physicality of the characters, which again, I don't know how much the show is invested in the physicality of the characters. Like I don't know how much we're meant to feel their bodies as physical, hard, metallic objects versus how much they're meant to be rubbery cartoon characters, right? But because they are robots, because these characters are introduced as robots, as machines, my psychological expectation is, well, they're mechanical. These things are made of gears, and they're made of like joints, and they're made of hard plastic and metal. I kind of want them to move like they're made of that, and the character animation, like on their face, certainly so far isn't doing that. Like on the rest of the character, I really did like as this guy is like getting frustrated, he does this little eye roll. The homework was a word problem. Like he does some nice little gestures with his hands.
Problem about buying watermelon?
Like he emphasizes watermelons with this little double tap. I quite liked that, but the way that, like, the rest of his physicality, his hands, his fingers, they seem to be animated with a great deal of respect for, like, the physical characteristics of the plastic that or metal that he's made of, in a way that the mouths aren't. So, like, if I was character designing, and if the idea was, we want to make a show where the characters' faces animate like this, right? As a character designer, what I would have said is, okay, well, then make the whole face a screen. Right? Like, don't give them this hard metal lower jaw. Give them, like, just make the whole face of the character just a flat screen, and then you can do all of the affected 2D stylization you want, because it is a flat screen with a projection on it, right? Rather than creating this sort of dissonance between what the character's actual physicality is versus, like, the expectation of what the material structure of their body should be able to do versus what is actually rendered on them.
It's on the rubric. And is it supposed to be that color?
Don't wash your hands, you're a robot, idiot. What hurts? Head, shoulder, the existential dread of being sentient machines created by gods that abandoned us, legs, chest. And of course, Comic Sans. Another thing that's interesting is the style of lighting. Like, as we talked about that a lot in the Digital Circus, right? That, especially in the early parts of a show, of an episode, usually they will be in the Digital Circus. The lighting will be very flat, very sort of sitcom-esque, right? And then as we enter into these game spaces, or as the genre of the action changes a little bit, and we head into like the dramatic beats, that's when the lighting gets more dramatic. That's when the lighting gets more cinematic to sort of match what's happening in the action. One of the things I note, and again, I'm wondering the extent to which this is part of the world building, is that this world seems to be permanently covered in night, and all lights glow and bleed, right? Like, light bloom is a permanent feature here. Because at first I thought that was just an affectation of like, this is VHS coded, like sort of like, so that's why we have these horizontal lens flare, like J.J. Abrams Star Trek ass lens flares. But then we enter into the classroom scene, and as she pulls the gun up, we get that exact same lens flare, right? Like, we get that horizontal sci-fi lens flare, and we see that the lighting in these places, like, everything glows, right? Like, nothing is a sort of dampened resident, like the kind of light that you would have on your ceiling in your home. It's all neon, it's all glow, and it's all neo-noir style lighting with like these very heavy dark shadows, like very heavy dark colors, punctuated by these bright beacons of pure white light that pierce out of the darkness of the scene, which is a very specific way to do cinematography, right? This does feel like something that's intentional to the world building, right? Like that we're gesturing at the sort of Mass Effect sci-fi chiaroscuro, like neon sci-fi futurism that was sort of popular for a while in the 2000s, 2010s. And that's sort of like, that's the world that we're living in. Again, with the handheld camera, with these like sort of swaying inconsistencies. That does feel like something that's meant to be a part of the world building here. I will say, lighting that's constantly like that, that's constantly glowing, that's constantly bleeding, that's constantly blooming, that's something that, for me personally, this is a personal preference, I find that gives me eye strain after a while. It makes it harder to see the details in a scene. I feel about that a little bit the same way I feel about motion blur, is that it's like, okay, like, I understand why it's there and what it's emulating, but it's one of those things that makes it harder for me to read the action, and therefore it annoys me.
Ew, it didn't kill her. Oh my god, that's so bad.
Okay, now we get to the character animation. So this... Okay, hang on. Let me look at the gestures of Uzi as she's giving her presentation a bit.
Behind 3 stupid doors? It's like we're waiting for an inciting incident. Anyway, that's why my project is this sick as hell railgun.
Yeah, so like,
So not the vibe.
the animation of Uzi and the teacher, probably with some like physical reference, but that felt like handmade, as it were. These two robot girls, on the other hand,
Ew, oh, ew, it didn't kill her. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
right? Like, the way that they handle their weight, the way that they handle their gravity, that feels like a very human gravity.
Her. Oh my god. Her. Oh my god.
Like, the way they handle their gravity, the way that they run away, that feels like the gravity of a human body, right? Which, again, is that thing of like the relationship between the animated characters and the way they handle their physicality. These characters are rubber hose characters, functionally, like in terms of their character design, right? Like, they are quite literally rubber hose characters in the Disney style, which is that they have these spaghetti arms, they have these huge white gloved hands, essentially. They have these very large shoes that are sort of like a little bit comically oversized. Again, the feeling I have is the way that I expect a character like that to move is with a sort of rubber hose weirdness or a sort of mechanical roboticism. This feels much more naturalistic, right? Like, this feels much more like, again, I don't know what the production process at Glitch was for these. That animation feels to some extent motion captured.
Ew, it didn't kill her. Oh my god, that's so bad.
Classic toxic masculinity, Chad. That's never gonna end up problematic.
Hey, we're hanging a lampshade on it. Yay, lampshades. We love lampshades. Lampshades are fun to hang on things. It's just, if you're going to hang a lampshade on it, you better have something to say about it. Otherwise, I personally get annoyed.
That's never gonna end up problematic.
You can kind of see the same thing here with him as this guy is walking into the scene. So clipping errors in animation like this are not necessarily a big deal. Like, because the important thing in animation is the gesture more than whether or not everything's clipping correctly into or around each other. But again, the vibe, the feeling I'm getting here of his movement and the style of motion that he's employing is that this is a human actor who is animating, like, who's moving in a way where they are not assuming that they are wearing sneakers that are like 14 times too big for their feet, right? Like, that are 14 sizes bigger than what they actually need to wear. So a human actor motion captured this, made this little move, and then when it was applied to the character model with these huge ass fucking sneakers on it, a little bit of awkwardness happens where the sneaker itself seems to tilt in a way that's not quite natural to, like, almost as though it's acting with motion data that doesn't quite take into account its bulk. And the same thing with, like, his feet and the way they plant on the floor. Like, you can see more clipping things happening where the top of the sneaker is not really respecting the physicality of the leg.
Chad, that's never gonna end up.
And as a result, his posture, his posing, the way he's planted, it feels a little off to me. It feels a little awkward, especially relative. Like, essentially, these characters have the proportions of Pomni a lot of the time, right? Pomni handles her physicality like much more like a cartoon character, right? Much more like an actual rubber hose character.
Problematic. Oh, wow. Uzi? I heard you,
I'm an angsty teen fad, bite me. Also, how do you know my name? People willingly talk to you.
Well, I'd say everyone knows Khan's daughter, but, then you might blow the other half of your face off.
Okay. Doors are my real daughter. What do you mean that doesn't make sense? Khan's third door, even bigger and safer. So she's annoyed that everyone's hiding behind the doors underground rather than confronting the murder drones. And then her dad is, like, Khan Doorman, the man who makes the doors. So, okay, we're doing teenage rebellion, and we seem to be very self-aware of it.
Blow the other half of your face off.
Dealing with the disappointing failure of a child. Oh, really? Is it daddy issues? Are we talking about daddy issues? Are daddy issues going to be coming into this? I couldn't tell.
Daddy issues, hilarious.
Oh, yeah, no, there you go. They hang a lampshade on it, so.
What are you in for? Testosterone too hard?
That can happen?
It can, actually. You need to be careful about the dosages.
Awesome. Hey, those bandages look pretty badass.
Oh. Ew. Gross.
Oh, no. Are we a tsundere a little bit?
I hate that you said that.
So, what's the,
Sick as hell railgun? Sci-fi nonsense, that super works. I'm sneaking to the murder drone lair tonight to get the last spare part I need to save the world with it and earn my dad's respect and stuff. But mostly the world part.
Okay, so this does feel like the level of irony and self-awareness that we're setting up with, that does feel like it's leading up to a subversion of some kind. Like that, we're doing it so much that it does feel like we're setting up for a thing where we reverse it and go, oh no, actually, like there's some, like, we have something we actually care about underneath all this irony poisoning. I hope so, anyway.
Oh, but doesn't your dad make awesome doors so we don't have to, do that scary sounding emotionally repressed stuff you just said?
No more feedback on my repression today!
No, I'm sorry. I didn't think.
Fine! Bite me! Impression today!
No, I'm sorry.
See, here again, I'm gonna be nitpicking the animation a lot, clearly. Like, it's... But the character here is performing like, oh, I'm sorry, I have a railgun stuck in my tongue right now, in my cheek right now, and that's distorting the way that I talk, right? That's the performance that the actor is giving. The problem is the mouth is all the way over here, and there's no physical distortion on the character from having the railgun shoved in their face, so it doesn't really work. Like, what I would expect from that is, like, when you have this amorphous mouth that you can move around, that's where the point would be to move the mouth over here and have the mouth be distorted, like squished in, such as to simulate the idea of a cheek being pushed in, and then, like, yeah, so that doesn't quite work.
Bite me! I'm not mad at you, by the way, just generally hormonal.
That was a little funny, I'll grant. Let's see. Certificate of Best Door, having faithfully made a slab of metal that can be a wall, but also not a wall. Doors over Uzi, monthly subscription-based doors. Oh, her dad is a startup guy? Well, I hate him now, too. Like, no, we need to kill your dad, Uzi. I'm sorry. That's not how you use a floppy disk. I'm sorry. You can't. That's not how a floppy disk works. You can't. It's not an NFC chip. It's a floppy disk. You have to slot it into. It's a magnetic tape inside of a plastic casing, and you slot it into a thing, and then the magnetic tape gets read. You can't. That's a floppy disk. That's not. It's not an NFC chip. It's not. Oh, I know. It's because I am old. I am very old. I remember technology back when it was, had physical components and stuff. It's not just a save icon. It's a physical thing. It has a function. You can't do that with it. You children who only know it as the save icon. You don't even know. You don't even know how powerful of a stim toy the little metal shell on that thing is, where you go. It was such an amazing stim toy. Like, just, you don't know how good quarter-inch floppies just feel to play around with and mess with. Like, the sound when those things clack together when you have, like, a stack of them because you're installing, I don't know, some point-and-click adventure that needs, like, 14 quarter-inch floppies in order to get onto your fucking hard drive. It's like, you don't know the pleasure of that. But the way that floppy disks do not work, they absolutely do not work with NFC technology. This is genuinely making me a little mad. Oh my god, I'm so old. It's also because, like, the terminal here, right? Like, all of this stuff, this is essentially a DOS prompt, right? Like, all of this stuff with the chunkiness of the keypad and everything, it's all emulating very old analog, not analog, but very old digital technology with analog screens, right? And, like, lots of, like, chunky pushing things in and moving transistors around. It's all emulating this era of technology, but then she manages to override it by holding an NFC chip in a floppy disks up to the ancient-ass 8-bit console. And I'm sorry, I am very old, and that annoys me. It's like, my culture is not a costume. You cannot simply appropriate the aesthetics of this old technology and not understand its intricacies. This This is cultural appropriation from old people.
Robo Jesus.
And where might
I see he has a mustache because of he's an adult. Okay.
you be off to?
Sneaking out to make out with my boyfriend that I definitely have?
Seriously, though.
Okay, you caught me. I need to measure the exterior hydraulic mechanisms of door 1, because that's the project I'm working on for school. A big old door, just like what my old man built. I want to join the WDF and hide behind doors like cowards while playing cards and stuff.
Well, we don't just play cards.
Con, can you grab a fresh pack? We literally only play cards so much that the numbers have faded.
See, funny is when you set up a joke and then you immediately do the punchline immediately after the joke. Again, it's a lot of the writing at this point is certainly a bit basic. Like very basic setup punchline kind of situation.
Oh, hey, Uzi.
Well, when you build doors so good, good door, there's no need to fight. Uzi, this is great news. Here, the wrench I used to tighten bolts on my first door prototypes, and to put your mother out of her misery when the murderdrones got to her with their nanite acid. I want you to have it.
So that's very of a kind with the close-up zoom-in gags that they do with Kane a lot in Digital Circus, right?
The murder bolts on my first door prototypes, and to put your mother out of her misery when the murderdrones got to her with their nanite acid.
Right, that's very of a kind. It's very the same kind of joke. I think one of the things they do in Digital Circus that makes it work a little better is they just cut most of the time. They don't usually do a push-in, to my memory. I might actually be wrong about that. And they don't usually do the letterbox effect to sort of like the cinematic aspect thing and the handheld camera. There's definitely, like, if I had an overarching criticism of the animation style in this first episode is it's oftentimes too busy. Like, oftentimes there's too much happening in the frame at any one time, and it doesn't seem to be clear about what it wants the aesthetic appeal of the shot to be, right? And that's something that goes for the animation as well. Like, if you look at the dialogue that Uzi has with her father here, right? The performance that the actor is giving is like, I got caught, I am nervous, I'm trying to make up a lie that will satisfy my father so I can still go and I can get out of trouble, right? So it's this very awkward coming up with shit on the fly, pulling stuff out of your ass, hoping that it'll pass muster kind of vibe. But the shot is a little bit odd for that because we do have, it's an over-the-shoulder shot from her father's perspective, right? He's over here, but he's so out of focus that you can't really tell that it's him. And then the performance is like, the camera gives Uzi all of this room, right, to do her acting performance, right? And that would be great for a character like Kane, for example, like or any of the Digital Circus characters, but any character who's capable of, like, doing massive, like, overextended, like, wild, sort of out of left field cartoony action. Giving them all of this camera room to play with is great. Uzi doesn't do that. Her performance here is very sort of naturalistic in its approach to her physicality, right? It's very downplayed. It's very sort of like, it's over the top a little bit, but it's fairly grounded, right? So she kind of doesn't need all this camera space. So you have all this empty space in the frame that isn't really doing anything. And you kind of get the same thing with the reverse shot, where it's like there's a lot of space left empty where nothing happens, and that's very still. But then against that, you have the character performances, which are never still, right? That's one thing. That's again the thing that gives me a lot of vibes of motion capture is motion capture is never still because a human body is never still. Human bodies, we're always breathing, we're always adjusting ourselves, we're always moving a little bit. It's very rare that a human being sits completely stock still. There's usually always a little bit of something going on, especially if you're on your feet, especially if you are animating. If you are not animating, but if you're like talking, giving a performance, if you're interacting with someone, usually you're not that still, right? So Uzi's performance here, right? Like this moment here, for example, like I need to
measure the exterior hydraulic mechanisms of door 1, because that's the project I'm working on for school.
Right. There's always that little, like, always that little that little wiggling, that little, like, on stage. Very much a hallmark of motion captured animation. I don't think this is all motion capture. Like, if it's motion capture that has been, like, processed and cleaned up and, like, manually animated on a lot. Like, it's a motion capture as a starting basis, but then you have an animator actually go over and, like, craft a performance on top of that, that's all good motion capture is like that. Anyone who tells you that you can replace animation with just pure motion capture is full of shit, because motion capture looks like garbage until an actual animator has gone over it and cleaned it up. But again, it creates a situation where the characters themselves are never still, which again is that thing of like, if these are robots, if these are machine characters, my natural expectation is that they are they don't need to breathe, for example, right? My natural expectation is that they are capable of being very still. And so I keep feeling a slight dissonance between the character design, the way that the character is designed to look, versus the way that they move, which is they move like a human person with a human flesh and blood physicality, right? And that's not bad. Like, these are perfectly good animated performances. You can see, like, the emotional thing that the character is trying to like communicate, the nervousness, the casting about for answers, all of that is present and on display. It's not a bad performance. It's just a performance that, for me, feels a little bit dissonant with the design and the concept of the character, right? In the same way, like, if they did the exact same animation performance on Pomni, it would also feel wrong, because Pomni is a cartoon character, right? And she benefits hugely from that combination of motion and stillness that you get from cartooning principles. Let's see. Kind of a dark thing to drop, also, that her dad had to, like, mercy kill her mother because of the murder drones. I guess that makes sense as a character motivation for why he just wants to hide his daughter behind doors, right? Although it's a little bit weird that, like, certainly at this point it doesn't feel like his motivation for building all of those doors is to keep his daughter safe, when so much of the background gags of the show are that he hates his daughter and thinks that she's a disappointment and that she sucks and that he only cares about doors.
Her mother out of her misery when the murder drones got to her with their nanite acid. I want you to have it.
Neat. Therapy's fun.
Guys, my daughter is into doors. Come on, Flash. She's gonna be outside for a bit to examine the exterior of door 1. Your door-specific destiny awaits.
Wow. Okay. Just gonna leave then, because this worked, so we're...
The other thing about motion captured animation footage is that it can be very difficult to composite into a scene, because you have to composite it in a way that, like, that's also the job of the director with the cinematographer, is they have to match the motion that the actor is doing to the motion that the camera is going to be doing in the scene, the exact camera angle with which, like what's the camera angle we're using in the show, and does that match the angle of the capture footage that we have and, like, the motion of the character? So one thing you can kind of see here as the camera is like pivoting a little bit, you can see that she kind of slides across the floor like she's not grounded. and there's like a little bit of a disconnect between like her planting on the ground and where the ground is and what the camera's doing. That's the kind of artifacts that you get from motion capture. Since I've complained about it so much, well, I haven't really complained about it so much as observed it. A very, 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 very good reason to use motion capture for this kind of animation is if you don't have a staff of like 30 to 100 animators who can work on every single NPC, who can work on all the characters and all the shots and all the everything. Motion capture is, it's relatively speaking a lot faster and more doable to capture a bunch of performances from actors through motion capture and then clean those up, especially if you're working with scenes where you're doing a lot of characters on screen at the same time, than hand animating every single one. Like, they are definitely, if you handle the production pipeline right, you can save so much time using motion capture animation footage as like a basis, and then just cleaning up the rough edges in order to get the performances that you need for the shots that you want. That is a lot faster, especially, and again, this is, I guess, from before the huge success of the Digital Circus. Like, it seems like the Digital Circus was made with a lot of the money that they got from the success of Murderdrones, right? Like, that would be my expectation, is that Digital Circus gets an uptick in production quality because Murderdrones laid the groundwork for that, right? But there's definitely some rough edges on it here. And again, I'm complaining about it a lot because I'm comparing it to Digital Circus. I'm comparing it to Gaslight District, right? Which are shows with the benefit of a lot more experience, a lot more staff, a lot more budget, right? Like, shows that like are not made under the same conditions at all. And that doesn't mean that this is bad. In fact, for the period in which this was made, as independently published YouTube animation primarily, this is astonishingly high quality. Like, I should just recognize that right up front. It's like, for something that is published for free on YouTube, or with a little bit of like, presumably grant money from a government agency or some, like, media company or whatever, this is astonishingly high quality. Like, one thing that should be recognized is they've had to make so many fucking assets for the show. I would imagine a bunch of it was also bought off of asset stores, because that just makes it more plausible to do. But, like, the scale of production here is genuinely very impressive.
Just gonna leave then, because this worked so weirdly well. Go doors!
They grow up so fast.
Okay, that's a good gag. That's a good, like, taking off the mustache and using it to wipe away a tear. How can they cry, by the way? It doesn't matter. That's a good visual gag. I like that. I like that a lot. Very kind of Half-Life in its construction a little bit. Very Welcome to City 17. Like, especially with all of the wires coming in and out of it. I do like the aesthetic conceit of everything else is ruined buildings, like these like block towers basically, and then the murder drone layer has this organic quality to it, like a tentacle reaching up into the sky that's sort of composed of debris. It has this like much more sort of a little bit H.R. Giger to it, with these tubes and shit coming in and out of it. I like that. That's a solid aesthetic conceit. That's a lot of human bones. Probably human.
Whoa. And they said pirating all that anime was useless.
You can't... Can you pirate anime if... Where... I guess from Earth? I guess she must have pirated anime from Earth, right? Because you can't pirate it if the copyright holders are dead. That would be the nanite acid. So, character design. Finally getting a good look at it. Okay, interesting. So we're working with some much more organic shapes, right? Like some much more humanoid shapes on the murder drone here. Like, especially, like, it has something that approximates calves, right? It has a little bit of that Apple iPhone sort of generic Johnny Ive tech aesthetic on it. Sort of over top of everything. And then that's contrast. Like, there's definitely a lot more organic vibe to the drones. Like, especially the wings here. Like, these are fully on some fucking, like, Kingdom Hearts Heartless shit. Like, or Organization 13. More like the nobodies from Organization 13. But it's a lot more organic in shape, right? Like, it's shaped like teeth. It's shaped like talons and feathers. And then that's contrasted a little bit with this, which I think is an interesting aesthetic move. We have this warning tape, right? Like these black and yellow stripes that we associate with, like, do not cross, do not enter, like warning signs and things that are designed to like tell you to beware on a construction site or with like heavy industrial equipment. That's what we associate that with. And that's an interesting thing to contrast against the sort of iPhone hyper sleek futurist modernism thing and the sort of anime nonsense. Like, that's an interestingly practical thing that sort of imply that these guys are sort of like industrial equipment almost, which is interesting. Okay, I get it. We're self-aware. I think the joke has run its course a little bit. Ooh. Nice blast effects. Like with the concentric circles, very anime laser blast. That's quite nicely done. Okay, genuinely very well done to get a headshot with a beam that big. I would have expected the whole thing to...
Holy hell! Suck on that, Dad! Huh?
Oh no, it's a T-1000.
Did you just slap me with that arm?
Holy crap, it talks.
Yeah, sorry, it's just my, head kinda hurts. Hey, are you new to our squad? You're a little, short for a disassembly drone. I'm Serial Designation N. Nice to meet you. I'm kind of the leader of the squad in this city. That's not true. Everyone tells me I'm useless and terrible. Wait, I'm not supposed to tell you that part? Biscuits. Well, honesty is the best policy.
Sonic the Hedgehog ass. A little bit. Like in the vocal performance, right? Like the way that they're doing the character. It's sort of a Sonic the Hedgehog level. Like it's that Saturday morning cartoon thing. To an extent.
I also can't seem to remember the past 3 hours of my life. But I'm sure that'll sort itself out.
Uh-huh. I have to go.
That was very nice. I like that as an animation gesture. Like that we have this prop, right? Like that the character is working with, and then we use that to like complete a gesture that acts as part of the acting. That's a nice little thing. I like that. Like when you're having a character manipulate an object, holding something, using something, working with it, you should always have something in mind, like what can they do with that object, right? Like that sort of helps express them, rather than just being a thing which is in their hand. Because that's when you get that video game thing, right? That's where you get like the video game thing where a character is holding an object and it like they do their normal animations, but they're holding the object and it's really awkward.
Stuck yourself? Just pop it in your mouth. Our saliva neutralizes the nanites. Otherwise, I'd be constantly disassembling myself.
And by our saliva, you mean disassembly
Disassembly
drone? Right. Hey, let's go in that landing pod over there.
Sure, I love doing anything.
So clearly what we're working with here is we're working with a gap moe sort of thing a little bit. We're working with contrast, right? That in kill mode, this motherfucker is a horrifying murder drone. But the moment that his programming or their programming isn't telling them to kill whatever they're looking at, they become a perfectly affable, regular person. And then there's that quiet terror of like, what if the programming kicks in again?
Sweet, I'm open to new things, I guess.
We are never talking about this.
Talking about what? Consider it, repressed.
Rank D.
You mentioned other members of her squad? Are they coming back soon?
Oh, yeah, 2 others. They're out hunting for a bit, but you'll love them. First, there's V.
V, you say? Not B, perhaps? 2 or 3B? 2? Okay.
Please stop beating my own eggshells in front of my family!
That's unfair. That's just the haircut, but still.
And yet, I still feel nothing.
So, V, I heard this planet-wide toxic death storm is supposed to be especially inhospitable tonight.
Oh, God! Who are you?
No worries, I'm N, but a whole letter is a lot to remember.
So is that the angle? Is that Uzi is going to be the first friend that N has ever made, and that's going to maybe mess with his programming directive to murder all robots? That would be interesting. Like, I like that as a conceit. Because certainly that sets up a contrast between the two of them, which, like, Uzi is irony-poisoned and way up in her own issues and, like, has this daddy issue thing and, like, wants to prove it. And N is, to a certain extent, kind of a blank slate who's has to learn to figure out... Yeah.
So,
like, innocence versus a lot of cynicism, right?
obviously a lot of mutual respect there, but secretly, I actually kind of have a crush on her. You can't tell her, okay?
I like that gesture. Like the little lip-sipping gesture. That was quite well done.
Then there's Jay. Yes, Jay. Yes, Jay.
I'm sort of trying to parse Yeah. I'm trying to parse the extent to which they're working with motion capture versus, because this feels more keyframed to me. Like, there's a lot of secondary physics engine stuff going on, right? Like, you look at N's hair here, right? The wobble, the swinging, like the secondary motion, that feels like it's being handled by a physics engine. Versus stuff like the motion of the tail. And again, there's that slight awkwardness where it feels a little bit like he's being animated from the basis of someone who doesn't have their physicality. I don't know. Hang on, chat. What are the pronouns here? Is it he, she, they, it? He. Okay. Like, it feels like he's being animated from the basis of someone who doesn't share his physicality, right? Like, sitting like this with the elbows out like that, in that way. That feels a little bit unnatural to this very, very itty-bitty slender body type, right? And the same thing, like, when he's doing his gestures, the fact that the elbows are out so far, it feels a little bit off to the very... Like, it feels like his shoulders are wider than they actually are a little bit. But the gestures that are happening, right? Like, and the interplay between hand gesture and facial animation is pretty solid.
N, you're worthless and terrible.
Hatsune kill you!
And if the company allowed it, I would straight up kill you myself.
Jay's awesome. Hey, let me give you the tour. Outside of the corpse wall thingies, and here are the buttons.
This isn't just a landing pod. This is a spaceship. This could get us off the planet.
Huh. Subtitles were a little bit mismatched there.
More of a one-use missile. They never taught us how to land.
No, the worker drones, we could work with them to fix this. Instead of all the murder. Which, why are we doing that again?
Other than ingesting their warm, sweet oil to avoid overheating and dying?
Again, with the, like, close push-in, I really don't think the letterbox effect works. Again, it's that thing of, like, a little bit too much happening in the thing.
Ingesting their warm, sweet oil to avoid overheating and dying? I guess I just want to be useful. I was given a job, and I always want to try my best.
And look at all the respect it's gotten you, N. You really think the company isn't going to dispose of you once all the workers are dead?
Oh my, you sure are rebellious. It's kind of exciting. But not as fun as, following the rules. Hey, they're back! Yo!
Idiot! Get out here!
Yo, we got a worker out there I kind of want to practice balloon animal shapes with. What happened here?
Synergistic liability here must have tripped and knocked himself offline. Moron box! Hello?
You really think the company isn't going to dispose of you once all the workers are dead?
Okay. Let's see the turn, then. My old enemy returns, by the way. I've been trying not to comment on it too much, but... the motion blur. The blur of the motion. And again, it's being made worse by the insistence on the light bloom and the glow and the lens flares, right? And this is not really the show's fault, but there is that thing that's happened in, like, these flares and like light blooms and lens flares. They've sort of acquired the aesthetic reputation of amateurism, right? Because it's the kind of thing when someone is loading up Unreal Engine and they're doing a project and they want the lighting to look cool, right? They want the lighting to look good and high impact and stuff. They'll turn all of this stuff on and they'll turn it up high because it makes everything look, whoa! Everything gets like this gloss and this pop and this power to it. And so by aesthetic association, it sort of acquires this reputation for the slightly amateurish, because it's sort of like, this is the first thing that you do when you're looking to make lighting work for high impact, right? As opposed to like more carefully crafted moments of like of lighting.
What happened here?
Yeah, again, we're doing like, so they all have the same basic character design with the wings, with the claws. I guess they all have tails as well. Yeah. We're definitely doing some interesting stuff with that. Like that thing I talked about, like the yellow and black warning tape, like this sort of industrial equipment vibe. Because one thing in terms of like character design, right? We understand that the worker bots have all acquired character design through freedom, right? Like because they all became free from like human domination, and so they started defining their own personalities. They started defining their own aesthetics, how they want to be seen, how they want to be thought of, how they want to think of themselves. That's the workers, right? A question I would have is, why then do the murder bots have character design? Right? Like, why do they have hairstyles? Why do they have fashion? Why do they have all of this? If they were just crafted to be murder bots, right? Like if they were just crafted to be murderous drones. And that's a thing, like in Nier Automata, like I made the reference myself, right? In Nier Automata, part of the world building of that series is that the robots you are killing are these little tin toy motherfuckers, right? Like these little objects, these things that look like crude dolls of human beings, but the characters you're playing as look like human beings. They look beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're sexually attractive. They are like physically flawless. They are like anime waifus and husbandos, the lot of them, right? And the part of the world building of that is that the human species made their robots, like their androids, to be like that as a sort of expression of their human supremacy, as a sort of expression of like the sort of underlying. It's also because Yoko Taro is horny. It's also because Yoko Taro just likes looking at horny, beautiful, sexy androids, right? And it's a strategy that's worked very well for him. It's something a lot of people respect about him, in fact. But it has a world-building function. It tells you something about the relationship that the humans who made these machines have to those machines, right? And it also comes into play when the robots, and I'm going to spoil Nier Automata a little bit for you, when the tin toy robots all come together and make Adam, right? And make humanoid android creatures. Like, they make themselves in the image of their gods, right? Where the androids themselves, these murderous angels that are sent down to Earth to, like, and it's hard not to make the comparison because it's kind of the same plot, right? Like, it's worker robots free themselves from human control. Humans send beautiful murder androids to clean up all the rebellious robots. The comparisons are hard to avoid. There is this engagement with the development of religiosity and ethics and aesthetics, where the little tin toy robots are trying to mimic the aesthetics of the androids, mimic the aesthetics of the humans, in an attempt to make themselves into people, right? In an attempt to make themselves into life forms that deserve autonomy and the right to an existence, right? And Nier Automata is engaging with that. And the character design of 2B, the character design of, like, it's all sort of part of that aesthetic questioning of what it means to be a person, right? Who do you sympathize with? Well, you sympathize with the hot-ass anime androids. You don't sympathize so much with the little inanimate tin toys. And so I would be curious about, like, why do these characters have characters? Like, why do they have personality embedded into them on that level? Why were they designed on that level? And again, the answer to that can just be because Yoko Taro was horny, right? It can just be because the creators think that these things look really fucking cool. That's sort of, to a certain extent, that's the Has-Been Hotel thing, right? Like, that's the Hell of a Boss thing, is so much of those shows is a reflection of the personal aesthetic fixations of Viv Medrano, right? The creator of the shows. Like, she's pouring so much of her own personal aesthetic fixations and her, like, favorite aesthetic components into these characters. She's also doing other stuff besides that. I have a whole video essay about that over on my main channel if you're interested. But, like, that's part of where that comes from. And if that's the case here, again, I completely respect it, but it's the kind of thing of, like, when you're doing character design, you have the opportunity to take your fixations, to take your, I just think this looks really cool, and then you can sort of go, okay, if I wanted to take the shit that I think looks really cool and build narratively on top of it, what could I do with it? Again, I don't know if the show's going to do that. Maybe we'll find out.
Synergistic liability here must have tripped and knocked himself offline. Moron box. Hello.
Slap accepted. He's a lot like you, isn't he, chat?
Hello.
Well, some of you anyway.
You really think the company isn't going to dispose of you once all the workers are dead?
It would have been a little bit funnier. I would have respected it a lot if instead of "you're dead, idiot," they put up the "Dark Souls, you died." That would have killed me personally. It probably wouldn't have been a great move aesthetically, but I would have bowled over. Let's see. String absolute solver blocked by administration CYN rebooting.
Oh.
Oh, they have different physicalities. Interesting. I did not quite parse that at first, that there's actually height difference going on here. That's probably a sense of, like, again, from a character design perspective, because we're working with these robots that are sort of physically, like, they don't have faces, right? Like, they don't have individual noses or, like, cheekbones or whatever. Probably a very smart character design decision to give them very distinctly different heights. That's the other thing, right? Why are the robots wearing distinctive outfits and have distinctive hairstyles? Well, because without them, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between any fucking of them, right? Like, they would all look way too identical. They wouldn't feel like characters with personality. So there is just, like, even without the narrative component, there's a baseline functional reason to give them character design, which is you can tell them apart, right?
Extremely dangerous weapon, excuse outside.
Okay, that's funny. I want more gags like that. I want a million more gags like that where the robots just have these incredibly specific implements to express incredibly niche feelings. I want a million more of those. If the show is just nothing but that the whole time, I will be very happy.
Boys.
Oh, gosh darn it. You're
You
so
guys
waiting
are
to my
best
loving
friends.
wife and...
I want you to subvert that one, Murderdrones. I know what you're setting up for. Like, you're doing the, I have 2 weeks until my retirement. That's the joke, right? There's 2 ways you can resolve it. You can either murder them and have them scream about, "Oh no, my loving wife and kids," because it's funny. Or you can have them survive completely unharmed and go home to their loving wife and kids and tell them about it. I think the second option is funnier, but we'll see.
Kids hear about this.
Bite me! Close it! Close it!
That's a strong boy.
Hey, fellas.
I will say, again, from a narrative perspective, I kind of would like N to murder her dad right in front of her, just for the drama. Like that, as a narrative starting point for the show, that would be very interesting.
Ooh, deal me in. I love rummy. Wait, no. I'm going to murder everyone. Brain check.
Let me guess, there's only one door master key. Because her dad is an idiot with no sense of infosec. Why does that open all 3 doors? Why are you so bad? Your only job is to build security doors. That's literally your only job. That's your whole thing. And you build a system where the console being physically assaulted causes all of the doors to open? It should cause all of them to shut immediately. How are you... How in the world green earth? Are you that bad at security, Mr. Doorman? The only thing I love is doors, door maker? Oh my god.
Actually, it's gin rummy. So.
Well, that's a way to go. I mean, that's like, honestly, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna die anyway. I might as well just go out like a smartass. Ooh, nasty.
Hey, Uzi, I sure as no one has said my name aloud so far, so I'm just letting you know I'm.
No, there's no need to fall apart over it. Hey, we're doing aliens in the vents. Cool.
Pretty nice hydraulics, huh? What have you done?
Don't do a flourish, just shoot. Don't do spinny gun tricks, just shoot the gun.
This time I won't miss.
I'm sorry. I really enjoyed our time together, but I can't have you shooting V with that thing.
Fight me. Dad, get down.
Uzi, you let a murder drone here? My beautiful doors!
Now is so not the time. I messed up.
Just shoot the gun, just shoot the gun, just fire it.
In the same way I'm about to fix it. Move, Dad.
Oh, or that. We can do that.
Dad, point and shoot. Trust me. Dad?
Close the doors. Yeah. That's the smart move, all things considered. Really should have had a failsafe for that, but you know.
Whoa, En? Am I dreaming, or did you do something not useless for once?
I've been trying to get past those doors.
Yeah, here's another compositing. Here's another compositing thing. You see how they're sliding? They're not quite moving as far forward as their leg motions are supposed to. Again, it's that compositing. It's the difficulty if you're working with motion capture. The other thing is also, like, if they're working with motion capture for the walking animation on these, like, stiletto legs, you also have the problem that, like, humans don't walk like that. Like, humans walk with, like, we have like the ball of the foot, we have the heel, and we roll across that as we sort of move forward and like shift our weight. That's not quite how you move when you're walking on stilettos like that, or you're walking on stilts, basically. And you can kind of see that affecting, like, the movement and animation. And a little bit of a compositing thing there, where I think the lighting maybe doesn't quite communicate their precision relative to the floor. Not that it matters that much.
For once.
I've been trying to get past those doors for months.
Wait, where did the height difference go? Hang on. So I guess here she's supposed to be standing on top of something and they have the same height. Well, damn it, that's not... I think height difference is a much better move there, honestly. But I guess this implies that they are more mass-produced and identical, so okay.
Nice work, En.
You name, remember?
These ventilation shafts can easily get us around this last door. Lowest body count eats a misso!
Way to go, stud. The company's gonna love this. With this colony wiped, we'll make top team this quarter for sure. You know what that means. Branded pants.
You know, not that I can't wait to keep murdering all these, maybe not so actually different from us worker drones, but just out of curiosity, do we actually, know what the company plans to do with us afterwards?
Excuse me?
Okay, so a worker earlier might have suggested that they could fix up our landing pod to, escape the planet and stuff, which, whoa, hey, that's against the rules! But it is kind of making me question why our pods were only one way in the first place. Because, you know, I get the feeling the company doesn't actually love robots and, like, we might be robots. I've made a terrible mistake. It's cool how immediately I could tell.
No way, buddy. Questioning the company? You just finally gave me the excuse I needed.
Uploading virus. My.
Drones are corrupted, and that's why the company sent us. I hate to see you corrupted as well.
Thanks, Jay. Always looking out for me. You're awesome.
Okay, so here we have the setup, right? That presumably the entire colony is about to be wiped out by the two femme fatales. N has been discarded. She's about to save him. The two of them against the world kind of situation where literally the only thing they have is each other. And also a lot of reasons to resent one another. So she's about to point the gun at him, maybe, and then, like, don't shoot, or...
Biscuits. I'm sorry. I ruined your card game, then made you have an awkward moment with your dad.
And I made you rebel like an angsty teen, which got you killed. Though you
Or we're just gonna talk past that immediately. So.
also tried to kill me, so morality calls this a draw. For the record, that was the lamest heel-face turn in history. Was that supposed to be you switching sides?
Being rebellious is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Missing some subtitles there.
showing me the ropes.
Nuh-uh, no bonding thing. You just killed a bunch of people, idiot.
That's super fair. I screwed up.
Ugh. In the same way you're about to fix it?
Oh, hey, it's shaped like a nut. Exactly. Ah, that's nice planting.
I love doing anything.
A critical error has occurred and the system will shut down. Data recovery will not be possible. Press Ctrl-L delete to enter data recovery mode. If you do not have these keys available, please contact your nearest JC Jensen certified technician. Oh no, not Thad! Beloved character Thad? Was it Thad? It was something or other anyway. See, Thad, this is what happens when you overdose on your tea. Honestly, listen to your doctor.
So, they found our evacuation spot. But if we build a quick door...
Are you kidding me? You're the WDF, right? Defend!
WDF is... Oh boy, that maybe not the acronym I would have chosen, but you know.
For real?
Put that convention one-dimensionally attractive male down.
Oh, Jay, you're sometimes kind of mean to me, and I wish you weren't. Just some constructive criticism.
Nice.
Noted, traitor. We'll circle back after I right-size your existence.
Okay, which one do you want?
Jay, please.
Too bad. Good luck.
That's okay. That seems like a design oversight. That seems like a design oversight in the creation of these robots. It's like, if you throw a commemorative pen moderately hard at them, you'll give them a head injury? Seems like, okay, yeah, like someone maybe should have thought about armor plating a little bit more.
Damn the well-made, quality-assured durability of JC Jensen products!
Right in the eye. Shoot the gun, please.
My mind's in a weird place! Don't read into this!
Beam clash, beam clash, beam clash. Or EMP. Or that. Ooh, here we go. Yeah, so this is a riff, like, again, this is the anime-inspired thing. This is the riff on, like, the two combatants airborne sort of clashing into each other. That's the kind of thing that in Dragon Ball would usually be rendered as just, like little bits of color just sort of smashing into each other, right? They're putting a lot more effort into it here. I quite like that. In the way that the characters are clashing, right? Like, it's still just mostly a lighting effect that's happening. But you can see that they're going through, like, series of key poses that sort of interact with each other. And they're sort of ignoring... They're ignoring gravity with very much the same freedom that a Dragon Ball fight does. And there's maybe a little bit too much lens flare going on. But that's well choreographed. I quite like that.
Uzi! I'm so sorry. Have fun repressing this?
Ew! What the hell?
You've got a lot of guts for a barely sentient toaster. I've had prey fight back before, but your edgy spirit is just so painful.
Yeah! Fourth quarter promise! Mother of company leadership retreat! One more buzzword and I'll do it.
You should maybe do it anyway.
Equity partners.
Well, okay then. You've seen them regenerate, though, right? So... Guys, there's still one of them in the air. Like, it's not... like, one of them is... Oh, my God. Oh, okay, he's captured her somehow.
Holy hell, Uzi, that was insane! And you too,
Huh? No, N. I'm an angsty, rebellious disassembly drone now.
I brought the murder drones here accidentally. You chose to leave me for dead instead of just frickin' believing in me! That's not even an edgy teen hyperbole like when I said it last week!
The what levels? Edge levels. Oh.
I'll save you the trouble, Dad. I banish myself!
Wait, huh? Does that usually happen? Have I just not noticed that they're transparent from, like... Because that's a pretty cool effect.
Let's go, Anne. Everyone here can bite me.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Uzi.
Shut it.
There was a door, and... I guess that's the final insult to her father, not using the door.
I'd join you if the sun didn't kill me. Hope you're having important character growth or something, though.
Just can't wait to murder all humans. Classic robot stuff. I hope they're sitting pretty there on Earth, because we're coming for them.
And of course, there's more murder drones coming. Yeah, makes sense. I will say, this is a little bit... So, like... There's definitely some connecting tissue that's missing a little bit there, in the sense that the opening info dump, right, has this thing about, like, the robots are oppressed, it sucks to be them, they are being, like, abused and mistreated, then the humans sort of kill themselves. And so all the robots, like, have good reason to want the humans dead, up to and very much including the fact that they sent the fucking cleanup murder robot team to kill all of them, right? Like, just out of spite, more or less. And so, as a conclusion to that, like, as a way to sort of circle that back around, this makes sense, right? Like that's sort of the circle around that we're doing is, oh, okay, like, because like the worker robots were just happy to be free and be left alone, but because the humans couldn't leave well enough alone, because they have caused like uncountable amounts, like unfathomable amounts of suffering to these worker robots, rebellious teen angst machine over here, she's like concluded, okay, well, fuck it, let's go kill the humans, because that's the only way to solve the murder robot problem, right? Like, that's the only way to make sure that we don't get killed forever. As a like an emotional conclusion to where the character's going, that makes sense. It's just because the majority of the show's runtime is like sort of cute, funny friendship gags with N, like his interpersonal drama with the other murder robots, and like this final battle confrontation, there really hasn't been any room for us to see Uzi go through the steps, right, of coming to that conclusion. So when this comes up at the end, it's a little bit like, oh okay, I guess that's what we're doing. You didn't really give us the development for that, to sort of get from point A to point B. I can see how they would connect. It's just we didn't go through the scenes to connect it.
You're sitting pretty there on Earth.
Oh, it is Elsie Lovelock. Okay. Let's do the IMDb dive. Lovelock, Kovac, Nola Klopp, Shara Kirby. Let's see. What else have you been doing? Poppy Playtime, Claire Obscure. Oh, very good. Duck Detective. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, like a number of voices in Claire Obscure. Lumi and the Great Big Galaxy. Nice. And the Dutch version of Pomni also. Okay. Yes, that makes sense. How far back does that career go? Oh, that's a lot of credits. Okay, we go back a ways. A lot of web animation by the looks of it. Looks like a Dutch movie she was in as well. Awesome Knots. Oh, that's a while ago. Brawl Stars. Cool. School of Rock TV series. The Dutch voiceover for that. She's done a whole bunch of voiceover for Dutch characters, basically. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of TV animation, a lot of TV series. A lot of experience on that actor, really. Not a lot of stuff I've heard of. I guess at least in part because a lot of it is Dutch. Yeah, she was the announcer on the Dutch WarioWare Get It Together. I should probably turn off those pings, shouldn't I? Yep. Yeah, okay, that's a pretty impressive list. Like 134 credits. That's pretty fucking impressive. Let's see. What about Shara Kirby? Ooh, Bleach is on there. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Cool. Let's go back to the start. Smite. Nice. Paladins. Fire Emblem Heroes. Pokemon Masters. Genshin Impact. Damn, that's the start of her career? That's pretty good start. Everspace 2, Cookie Run Kingdom, Honeypup Double Date, Dark Deity. I like those games. Some appearances on Death Battle. Dolls Frontline. Huh. Love Live, Rainbow High, Ghostbusters thing, a video game, I think. Yeah. World of Warcraft Dragonflight, as a couple of the characters. Boruto, cool. Ruby, as well. Exo Primal, nice. Armored Core 6, holy shit, that's a great credit. And then 7 Rebirth, Unicorn Overlord, that's a fucking working ass actor, holy shit. Then Murder Drones, obviously. Pokemon Horizon, the series. Romance and Saga. Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War. And Rebirth of Soul, which is the video game. And Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. That's very good. Let's see. Oh, Sean Chiplock. I didn't even see him there. Oh, he's also on Duck Detective. Yeah, but it's good old Kinger. I forgot that he was in Duck Detective. Let's see. David J. Dixon. Have I IMDb'd you before? I don't think I have. Let's see. Bakugan, Fallen Aces, Astral Ascent, God of Rock. 61 credits. That's not bad at all. A lot of... Yeah, some web animation, Death Battle, another one of those, like one of those staple. On Final Fantasy VII Machine Abridged. Cool. Wargroove, Battle Chef Brigade. Helsing Ultimate Abridged. As Shock Dingo. Right, so it's one out of that crowd. Like that crowd of like voice actors coming up online and finding their careers through that. Yeah. Also did voices for Wing Commander Saga. Oh, cool. And Heroes of New Earth. Wait, who the hell was Makarov and Lizzie? I guess they were some of the classmates? Okay, not a lot of voices. Yeah, pretty much just Murder Drones and Interconnection. More known as a storyboard artist, though. Did a bunch of storyboarding. Oh shit, for like a fucking Bugs Bunny Builders. Yeah. Some TV movies, some TV series. Neat. Let's see, Cameron Gavinsky. Okay, so that's an animator. Okay, he's worked as an animator on a few things. Writer on a couple of things. And some minor voice roles in a few things. What's Internation Cube? Internation Cube. It only has 3 episodes. Oh, okay. It's a web animation original. I see. Let's see. Liam Vickers. So by the looks of it, because, yeah, like, these are a lot of the people who work in the art department, so it seems like a bunch of people who worked at Glitch were sort of doing double duty between voicing a few extra characters in this thing and then also being in the art department and, like, doing visual effects and writing and things like that, or they were doing that on other shows. Let's see. Oh! Liam Vickers is, yeah, like, right, that was one of the fucking creators, wasn't it? Created by Liam Vickers, right? That's ADHD and memory. Such a fun thing. So that makes sense. Let's see. Same thing with Jasmine Yang. Yeah, basically all the credits seem to be... Well, no, Puzzle Vision seems to be something else, but there's a Meta Runner, Sunset Paradise, did a bunch of work in the marketing, distribution, publishing for all of the Glitch series, and then showed up as a voice actor for a few of them. And then there's Luke and Kevin Lervigigal, who are the founders and co-founders of the thing, and they have shown up as actors in a bunch of the stuff as well. Yeah, mostly in their own stuff, by the looks of it. They haven't really been around as voice actors, but I guess that makes sense. Like, they've been busy running Glitch, I suppose. And then there's Haley Nelson, who... Oh, okay. So she was one of the main characters on Meta Runners, by the looks of it. Yeah, Sophia Porter, 26 episodes. That'll be, at the very least, one of the main characters. But also has, like, a credits... Like, Heroes of New Earth, there it is again. Everyone was in fucking Heroes of New Earth, it turns out. Yeah, a bunch of web animation. Anytown. Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, actually, as short on the internet, but not. Cuphead meets My Little Pony as King Dice. Cuphead meets My Little Pony, my. Then Meta Runners happens, then Murder Drones, and then after that, some Chinese video games by the looks of it. Doing the English voiceover for that, I guess. A lot of TV series, a lot of video games, most of which I don't think I've heard of. And then Apex Girls. That has nothing to do with Apex Legends, right? Like, no, it's looks like a gacha game by the character design look of it. Okay, interesting. Now, Jack Hackett. Definitely not this guy by the looks of it. Or maybe it is that guy. Hard to say. But I doubt it? No, that's not the same guy. Can't find IMDb credits for them, but okay. Yeah, we can see, like, a lot of the names recurring. Script editor was Jasmine Yang as well. Yeah, you can see that this is a much smaller production than the more recent Glitch shows, just because so many names recur in multiple roles. Motion capture artist, that makes sense. And it's Unreal Engine 4. That also makes sense with the way that the show looks. Physics simulation and rigid body destruction. Yeah, fluid simulation, rendering, compositing. Haha, credits gag. Okay. So, like, I nitpicked throughout the whole fucking thing, right? Like, I had all of these, like, little, oh, this thing and that thing, and that's not quite... And it is, like, to a large extent, it's a little bit unfair. It's because I have watched the later shows, right? It's because I have watched the later shows. I've seen where they developed to. I've seen what they've become capable of doing with the experience, presumably, of working on murderdrones, right? Like, with the money that murderdrones has managed to generate for them. And so it is that thing of, like I'm sitting here criticizing them for like, flaws, mistakes, whatever you want to call it, like little niggles that is all stuff that they have already fixed in their production, right? It's all stuff they've already sort of, like grown beyond or moved past. And so it's not like this is not constructive criticism because, like, they can't really do anything with it when it's stuff that they've already solved. But I can definitely see, again, in the context of internet animation, right? In the context of internet animation, this is exceptionally high effort, right? Like, this is the kind of thing that, like, in the same way that back when Monty was doing, like, his fighting fantasy and his many hyper impressive fight choreo videos with, like, Samus and Master Chief and shit like that. Just the sheer level of production value, like that a single person or a small team is capable of making something which is, like, this complex, all things considered, right? Like, with this many characters, with this many moving pieces, this many locations, this many assets, like, that moves across such a wide range of spaces, that has so many voice actors and, like, so much voice work involved. Especially in the context of that, it's easy to see how something like this is, like, impressive, and gains a following just based on simply based off the fact that someone is independent on YouTube making shit that looks like this and that moves like this. And, like, I get a little bit sort of pushed away by the post-ironic, self-aware, lampshade hanging, we know the tropes that we're working with, kind of vibe, right? Like, when it's like we're citing the hero's journey at the start of the show, and we're undercutting scenes where the characters are supposed to connect emotionally by having the characters comment on the tropes that are playing out in the space of the conversation, like the little, like this scene, right?
Biscuits. I'm sorry. I ruined your card game, then made you have an awkward moment with your dad.
And I made you rebel like an angsty teen, which got you killed. Though you also tried to kill me, so morality calls this a draw.
Right, like, this is theoretically here, narratively, we have this moment for the characters to sort of drop their guard with each other and kind of, like, and maybe try and communicate the thing that they have in common, right? Like, which is what the show is getting at, is that the murder drones themselves, like the murder robots, are no less disposable, no less cogs in the machine to the distant human overlords, right? Who are exploiting them, right? Like, so there's this element of, like, we could establish class solidarity in this scene, but instead what the show does is have the characters sort of go, I am aware of the tropes in the interaction, and I am going to say what the tropes are.
For the record, that was the lamest heel face turn in history.
Right, like, that's a literal TV tropes page, right? And it's like, it's a term out of wrestling, right? Like, when a heel will turn face, when a face will turn heel, like, that's a part of, like, the narrative sort of trope storytelling of how that works. But that's, like, the writing on this is like, okay, this is someone who has read that trope on TV tropes and has incorporated it into their writing. as a way to signal to other people who've also read TV tropes that we kind of like, we all know the structure of how this is put down, right? And that's not really appealing to me, especially sort of personally. That's not really my thing, right? I like sincerity. I like it when characters are in their worlds and are engaging sincerely with the worlds that they live in. That's more my thing, right? And that's something Digital Circus does. Like, Digital Circus, all of the characters, even though their world is objectively ridiculous, they all engage with it with a lot of emotional sincerity, right? And so for me, this is a little bit alienating, but I am not the audience. I'm an old man who remembers what floppy disks are. I'm someone who remembers what floppy disks are and gets annoyed when, like, Zoomers don't know what floppy disks are and don't care. So I am not the audience, right? Like, the audience is teenagers. Like, the audience is kids, right? Primarily. Kids who are raised on, like, various forms of anime and, like, fan fiction, and who are sort of, like, immersed in these worlds of narrative engagement, right? And I think it makes sense that this would be, like, that this would get popular just because it is fairly high quality, and it speaks to that language of online fandom in a language that they can understand, right? Like, it speaks to that on that level. So I understand why something like this took off, right? Like, I understand why people get invested in this kind of thing, and I do like as a little thing for N, I should probably comment.
I love doing anything.
Like, I love doing anything is a good line to sort of encompass the deep loneliness that sort of seems to be the central component of this little dipshit of a character. And, like, so this is not really for me. But I can definitely see why people, like, first of all, what lovely robot murder character designs. Like, they are horny without being horny, right? Like, this is a style of character design for these things that's like, it's not fucking like gotcha anime babe, big titty cleavage, like, but there's an element of, like, I can see why people would go, oh, that's exactly my fucking shit. Like, this thing, the aesthetic of these like robot girls, that is like reaching right into my heart and pulling at, like, a very specific emotional need, right? Like, in a very specific aesthetic interest and fixation. Same thing with N, by the way. Like, that's the other thing when we're doing the comparison to Nier Automata, right? Nier Automata very specifically made the androids humanoid, right? Made them into human beings, essentially. Right, human beings in anime costume and shit like that, but they like very physically perfect. But human beings, I can see why the fact that these are robots, like, that's a big part of the appeal. I think the fact that they are little astrobot robots, right, with some physical modifications, but that they are distinctly non-human. That's definitely a part of the appeal of these character designs, right? I think that's a part of what people enjoy about them, is that's like just the concept of the robot Sona, right? Like, and like having a body which is made of metal and machinery, and which is therefore malleable, and configurable and customizable. That's something that appeals to a lot of people in a way that humanoid androids just kind of don't, right? And they're, like, again, I don't know really what to make of the character designs on a narrative level, in the sense of, like, why do they have hair? Why do they have clothes? Like, why does one of them have what looks to be, like, garters on her legs, and the other one doesn't? Why aren't they wearing pants if they're wearing jackets? Like, these things are questions that I have in terms of, like, what does the character design say about the world building? But just as a piece of aesthetic, a thing of aesthetic appeal, like, yeah, I can see people getting fixated on this, like looking at this and going, oh, that's exactly my shit. Like, this stuff, like, pokes at a specific part of my brainstem and really speaks to me. Same thing with N. Like same thing with N's character design. Like, this, there's definitely, like, a bit of, I know he's a boy, but there's definitely a level of androgyny inherent to him that I think a lot of people will find very appealing.
Curiosity, do we actually, no, know what the company plans to do with us afterwards?
Excuse me?
Okay, so a worker earlier might have suggested...
Yeah, so I can see why this would take off. Again, I feel about this kind of the same way I feel about the Hell of a Boss pilot, right? It's like, I completely understand why this grabbed a bunch of people, like why a lot of people like saw this and were like, yes, more of that, please. Like, even if it's not great, like that's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, it has flaws, but that's not the point. It's the fact that it speaks to a very specific kind of aesthetic fixation. It speaks to like what you might call a specific kind of cringe, right? Like, I don't like the word cringe. I think cringe is a term that lacks self-awareness, because there's no such thing as cringe. There is only the person who cringes. And the reason why you cringe is the thing you should be interested in. But that there is this like earnest adoration of a specifically over-designed kind of character design. Like, it's very DeviantArt OC in that way, in kind of the same way that Hell of a Boss is, right? It does feel like something that like has emerged out of a person's imagination in a very specific way. And it has the same thing that so much other, like, that's one of the things I love about this era of independent animation, is that so much of it gets to feel specific to a person's aesthetic fixations in a way that things just don't really get to in the age of Netflix anymore, right? Like, that so much of it feels like, okay, this is someone like being a pervert about their shit brackets non-sexual, right? Like pervert brackets non-sexual about the stuff that's their shit. And they just kind of get to chase that id of it a little bit without like 400 bean counters and a dipshit like executive producer seeing like, actually our stakeholders have some concerns about like they get to kind of pursue that in a way that is very complete, rather than being constantly undercut by shit like focus testing and things like that. It definitely has that vibe also, which again, that's part of the reason why I watched the whole way through. I will say, for all that I was sitting here nitpicking the animation, I was engaged the whole way through, right? Like, I was never ever bored by this. Even when I could see, like, even when I saw the joke coming from 10 million miles away, even when I was like, I know exactly where this is going, I know exactly what they're going to do, and I've seen it before, and it's not particularly interesting, even then, like, I was still engaged by it. And that's a difficult thing to do, because, like, you can make the most self-indulgent sort of, like, personal pervert shit in the world, like, with all of the earnestness of personal expression you want. It can also be really boring, right? Like, and I will say, this show was at no point boring. Predictable, like, a little bit juvenile in its writing, sort of impatient in many places, and like lacking a bunch of connective tissue, but it was never boring. And I think that matters. Like, that also speaks to a quality in it. Again, if it had been boring, it would not have gotten millions of views on YouTube, right? Like, that's the one thing, the one sin you can't commit on YouTube is being boring. We talked about this with Digital Circus and the horror episode with Pomni and King Are in the Dark, right? Like, that they had that, what was it, 10-15 seconds of just silence where nothing happened. And I thought that was quite brave of them, because on YouTube especially, having any moment at all where anything doesn't happen, where like someone could conceivably get bored, that's a risky business to go into, right? This show doesn't quite do that, but it is a show that's like, it doesn't feel like it's trying way too hard to always engage the audience, but it does feel like it has enough stuff in it that it wants to do to fill out its runtime, right? That's the other thing. This show isn't bloated. Like, or at least this first episode isn't bloated. Like, that's the other thing about, like, a lot of things in the age of Netflix, right? The first few episodes, or not the first few episodes, but, like, in the age of Netflix, you'll always, in a season of a show, you'll always have, like, an episode or two that's just kind of, either the show is way too compressed and shortened down and like it doesn't have time to do anything that it wants, or else it's a thing of like, well, we have to fill 8 episodes, but the writers were only given like 48 hours in the writing room to make anything happen, so they just kind of had to pad some shit in and like do whatever. This doesn't feel like it has those moments. It doesn't feel like it has bits or scenes that are just there to fill time. All of it feels like it's relevant to the progression of the thing. Which is like, that does speak to a certain discipline in the writing room about like thinking about things that actually sort of progress the narrative of like move the story forwards. So also, obviously, her eyes switch to yellow. Yellow is the murder drone thing. Tampering, corruption detected, blah, blah, blah. Setting up for the new thing. It's not boring. Yeah. Like, I won't say I'm particularly... I'll give it an episode or two. Right? Like, I'll give it a chance. If I hadn't watched Digital Circus, if I hadn't seen Gaslight District, I probably wouldn't. Like, I would probably have watched the first episode and go, oh, okay, cool, this is not really for me. But I do have that interest. I want to see how it develops. I want to see, like, because Digital Circus itself also has, like, quality jumps from episode to episode, where it seems like they're getting better and better at realizing the world that they're playing in. I kind of want to see what the jumps are for Murder Drones. Because there's a lot of aesthetic roughness around the edges. Like I talked about the compositing problems, right? That I saw. I'm kind of curious to see them fix that. Like, I kind of want to look out for that and see if they get better at compositing, if they get better at polishing the mocap so that it looks less... Like, so that they take more advantage of the Like, I'm curious. I do want to see that. So I guess, sure. We'll do at least one more. And then we'll see. Again, not promising I'll do the whole series. But who knows? Like, if it shows improvement, then I'm probably going to get curious about seeing how much it's going to improve. So, yeah. I guess, right. YouTube, blah, blah, comment, subscribe, membership for early access. Goodbye.